Rockets and Knicks were in Game 5 when O.J. started that fateful drive. His four-way hazard lights were blinking, and no one knew what the Jews was thinking.
I've been to Reno, Chicago, Fargo, Minnesota, Buffalo, Toronto, Winslow, Sarasota, Wichita, Tulsa, Ottawa, Oklahoma, Tampa, Panama, Mattawa, La Paloma, Bangor, Baltimore, Salvador, Amarillo, Tocopilla, Barranquilla, and Padilla. I'm a killer. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Crossed the desert bare, man. I breathe the mountain air, man. I've traveled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere.
This is Oversight Live, your advocate for good governance. We're putting the site back in. Oversight. Here's the watcher on the wall, your host, Ben Carpenter.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Oversight Live this Monday evening of evenings. If you're watching the legislature, boy, they're rushing to get things done, aren't they? Well, what is Oversight Live? Well, for those of you that have been paying attention to what we've been doing here, you'll know that this is the road to Juneau until we can get one built. We have a problem with being able to get to our state capitol and to our legislature. We've only got a ferry ride or a plane ride to get us there. We have no road, and that makes it cost prohibitive for most people to get down there. Well, that's what Oversight Live is. So we can watch what's happening within the confines of our home via the internet and lots of stuff being broadcast. But what do you know to watch? There's a lot going on, right? Well, my time in the legislature is I'm using it to help prioritize what we're going to watch and what we need to watch and what we need to provide oversight, or what we need to know in order to provide oversight. It makes it really easy tonight. You might have lots of questions about what's going on because the House floor, the House of Representatives is still on the floor debating Senate Bill 180, which is one of the gas line tax bills, not the one that we have been looking at for quite a while now, that was stuck in Senate Resources until recently. But what's going on the floor of the House is a debate over another gas line tax bill, and the governor has said, "Hey, send me a gas bill, or I'm going to veto this defined benefits pension bill that's sitting on his desk," and he has until today to veto it or allow it to go into law. So I believe that's probably midnight tonight. He's got to have it vetoed, or it'll go into law if there is no action. But anyway, what do we have going on tonight? So right now, the floor is at ease. They are considering amendments to this tax bill. And to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure where we're at with regard to all of the amendments that are adopted and implications for the bill and all of that. Much of that is going to have to be sorted out once they conclude their amendments and figure out what actually happened to the bill. But it confirms something that I have been saying on this show, this venue, for a number of weeks now, since before the beginning of May, that you're going to have two bills in play. One of them is a defined benefits retirement bill, return to a pension for state and municipal employees, and a gas line tax bill that is necessary to see the AK LNG project go forward. Well, tonight we've got exactly that. The governor telegraphed earlier today in his press conference and through written statement and social media that he needs to see this bill on his desk, or he's going to veto the defined benefits bill. It's what I've been saying. This is how our legislature works. It's amazing to see how many actual bills are trying to be crammed through on the very last couple of days. I don't know whether we can see. Look at all these bills that are up for debate today. I'll make that bigger so you can see it. Look at all that. That's what we're trying to get done. They've had all session. They've had all session to get something done. And here at the very last minute, last couple days, use time compression as a weapon. Rush. We got to get it done. Motivate everybody to find some agreement. You know why it's this way? Well, number one, it's because we're human. I know that's people don't want to hear it, but we're human. We're imperfect beings, right? So much of what I'm saying here is we just have to realize that there's maybe not a better solution, right? With as many of the failures or many of the things we dislike about the United States and our form of government and the messy the way it is, the alternative is much worse. We've got the best system by far of what is possible and what human history has shown, right? Okay. But the reason why the dysfunction that you're witnessing is happening is because we can only rise to the level of our own training, our own knowledge, our own expertise, our own abilities, right? And so this body's got 40 members in it, and they can all, individually only rise to the level of as good as they are, right? That's it. So if you want a better outcome here, knowing it's an imperfect system and knowing that you've got challenges with just humanity, but if you want a better outcome, you got to have better people sitting in those seats. You got to have people with better skills of working together or communicating or whatever. I mean, that's the bottom line. You got to have better people. So those people who are better, who know better, to be honest, they know better. Like, I'm not going down there. Are you kidding me? That's a waste of my time. Yeah, it is a waste of your time, but somebody's going to waste their time down there. And they're either going to be people less capable, less competent than you are. And what they do matters because it's going to change the law and it's going to change your life. So you'll be ruled by others if you don't choose to participate. And that's kind of the challenge we're at right now. So I don't know how long we're going to sit at ease here. We have not passed the bill. They're still taking amendments, and I would guess that they're going to be able to move to third. It's going to take the body's acceptance to move to third and pass that bill. They got to waive that rule because normally it has to be tomorrow. The bill would be in third and be able to be heard again. So we'll see here. Craig says, private business would never operate like this. If they did, they would fail. You're absolutely right. No business operates like the legislature. It is an anomaly. I have likened it to a cross between the TV show Survivor and junior high. That's the best that I could come up with for an example of how the legislature operates and its idiosyncrasies. And there's nobody able to tell these people to straighten up their act. There's no teacher there. There's no authority that said, other than the people you elect to lead, the Speaker of the House, the Majority Leader, the Rules Chair. Those are your three main leaders, if you will. The majority still can overrule any of those, right? If you've got 21 votes, it doesn't matter what the speaker says. It doesn't matter what the rules chair says. It doesn't matter. The body gets to decide. So if you got 21 junior high students there, you're going to get that kind of results, right? Government can't fail. The bar is too low. No, it can't get much lower, but we could fail. We could fail to pass something and have, and we don't get a gas line built. I mean, right now, if the gas line doesn't get built, it is not for any other reason other than our legislature has screwed it up. 100%. That's it. And it's only certain members in the legislature for ulterior motives. And just for all those whose blood pressure is rising or has been rising today, if you've been paying attention, it's not over. It's not over yet. Even if they don't pass this bill, or if they pass it in such a manner that it is not palatable, like it isn't workable, the project won't go forward with it. The governor still can veto it. They can still have a special session. They can always come back and have another bite at the apple. So there's hope here still. It's pretty discouraging, but there is hope that we can find some sort of agreement. I don't think you're going to have an agreement without having a defined benefits bill. I think that quid pro quo is something that is going to happen. Gary says, so what's your take on the dust up from the amendments taking out Section 3, then Amendment 21 changes text in paragraph 3 that was taken out from the Amendment 1 to Amendment 2? Yeah, so to be honest, I'm not sure. So I have not seen the amendment that they passed, and I have not seen the amendment. So let me just say I haven't seen either of the amendments. So I'm not entirely sure. What I can gather is that certain members believe that they removed something from the bill that was necessary. And when they brought it to the attention, they sought legal counsel to clarify, and they came back and they voted. And because it was a tie, your motion doesn't carry on a tie. It has to have a majority of support for the motion to carry. So because they were evenly split, including the vote of the presiding officer, the motion to rescind that amendment that was adopted failed. So now they're going to have, like, if that's important, if the rescission of that amendment is important to Governor Dunleavy signing the bill, if it's important to the project being able to move forward, then this body, by at least one vote, somebody's got to change their vote. They can come back and take another bite at the apple of the rescission of the amendment, and somebody's got to change their vote. So what could be going on right now? It's hard to say whether they've moved on from this amendment or whether they're trying to figure out how to solve the problem. It could be that they're politicking in the background. They're talking and strategizing and trying to figure out how they can wiggle their way out of this, right? The guys that are coming in from the door on the far side, they're not involved. Those are minority members and they're not really involved. Everybody that's going out that door needs fresh air, or they're smokers and they need fresh air. Not fresh air. They need a cigarette. So that's what that door's for on the far side. There's a little key card that lets legislators back in. Not to say that everybody that's going out that door is a smoker. You get fresh air there, or you can keep walking and you can go get your smoked air. Anyway, so I'm not, I can't answer your question, Gary, at this point with regard to the amendments. And furthermore, I was being productive today. I told you a month ago, seems like a month ago, but maybe it was about a month ago, that we would be in a situation like this that we're in right now, that we're going to end up with two bills going to the governor, and the governor's going to have to decide if he's going to sign both or allow one to go in and get the other. And so this is the messy process. What I really want to see is the outcome. When they figure out messing this up and there's an outcome, then we have something to talk about. There's absolutely no way right now for you and I to provide oversight of this happening. The only way that we really can provide oversight is if you're one of these guys sitting back here, or you're down there right now and understanding what's happening in the conversations that are happening back here, right? That's the only way to really know what's going on the floor right now. But the end result, you can look at the end result and kind of figure it out, do the math. There has to be a bill passed in order to have the defined benefits bill signed. It has to meet Governor Dunleavy's requirements. Otherwise, he vetoes both of them. And then we're going to a special session. So I think that's probably the most likely outcome, is this bill, whatever the legislature can come up with right now, is not good enough. And Governor Dunleavy just vetoes both of them. It's safe, because why do I have to accept everything on the first take? We can always come back at a special session and have a conversation. And if the legislature doesn't want to come back and have a conversation, then there's no defined benefits and there's no pipeline. And that's on the legislature. It's not on the governor. So I think I covered it. Throw it out. What happens next? That's pretty much it. If they can't pass the bill, or they can't pass it in a manner with the language in it that is necessary for the pipeline to move forward and for Governor Dunleavy to accept it, then it gets vetoed. Then you go to a special session if everybody wants to have another bite at the apple. Good question. Who is giving the blow-by-blow, Sadler versus Gray? I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. Be more specific for me. You're probably referring something that has happened, and I didn't see it. Okay, so this is Renee from Deep Sterling. She says, veto the defined benefits and the crazy version of the pipeline bill, and the co-op on the Kenai can build a new, beautiful, clean coal plant for human flourishing. So you're like, screw the pipeline. Let's just import the coal. So let's follow along here, figure out what's going on in the House.
But when you get them organized,
Committee substitute for Senate Bill number 9, Judiciary, by the Senate Judiciary Committee, entitled An Act Relating to the Surrender of Infants and Providing for an Effective Date. The Judiciary Committee considered the...
So I can't back this up because it's live. But because we're on Senate Bill 9, Senate Bill 180 either got rolled to the bottom of the calendar so that they can come back to it later today, or it went to third and there was not enough votes to address third in the same day. And so you're going to have to address it tomorrow, which is too late. Governor Dunleavy will veto the bill, and you might as well just say you're going to a special session, because nobody's going to end up passing the rest of the bill or rest of a pipeline bill without a defined benefits bill, right? Your quid is gone. I don't know if that's the right way to parse out the quid pro quo, but both one side of your give is gone, so you don't get to go back. Al says, I've never seen the Republican Party so unified since January 18th, 2026. Yeah, interesting. You're probably speaking of the Republican members in the House voting on the same side of the argument, right? I guess that's one way to look at it and say, oh, look, there's some united Republicans. I think that they're probably, it would probably be more accurate to say that they're voting the same way. I don't think they're united about anything. I think they're just, I don't know. If they're voting the same way on the bill, then maybe they're united about the bill, and that's the best you can say. But I wouldn't read a whole lot into it. Yeah, Jeremy, thanks for joining us. The first time I've seen you on here. Appreciate you joining us. It is possible that they're going to kill the gas line. I honestly believe that it is possible. Like I said, this is the first bite at the apple. The second bite would be during a special session. And so it is likely that more and more likely that that's what's actually going to happen. And I don't have social media up right now. I'm not, see if I can pull it up here. I'm just curious if the governor makes an announcement on his veto, right? Because if they can't pass the bill out of the legislature tonight, then he has to veto the defined benefits bill if he wants a gas line bill. He has to. He allows the defined benefits bill to go into law. There's no leverage. There's nothing that he gets to hold over them other than all of the other bills that they might want. But this is the big one, so he has to veto it. I was just scrolling here to see if there's been an announcement by the governor. It's not popping up on my my social media feed. So you all let me know if you see it, if he vetoes the defined benefits bill, because that'll be a big deal. That'll also put an end to any gas line bill. Al says, I've also been productive today. A new fresh batch of pickled salmon for sale. Yeah, see, some people in Alaska can just get things done, right? I mean, the legislature's struggling, but that doesn't mean everybody else has to struggle. we can actually get stuff done, right? My greenhouse is humming now. Miguel says they won't be able to. They won't be able to get the bill done. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I suspect there isn't a way for them to do it. Oh, Al, you're saying that Sadler called out Gray. All right. It is the House, after all. The House is a wild bunch. They're not, the upper crust. They're not the proper Senate where our emotions don't get raised. We don't have fights on the Senate. At least we're not supposed to. So what else is new? Gray's, if nothing else, Representative Gray is entertaining to watch. He speaks with such passion, emotion. I've seen many breakdowns. Anyway, okay, Craig, thank you. Since I didn't have it up and I was listening to myself talk, not the floor session, Senate Bill 180 was rolled to the bottom of the calendar. They have moved on to the other bills, and I showed you the rest of those bills, right? So this is what, for those that had just joined, these are the other bills that that are on their calendar to deal with. Oops, make it bigger so you can see it here. These are the other bills that they have to deal with, right? We were working on Senate Bill 180, but now we're on Senate Bill 9. So I don't know whether that means that the only thing they've attempted to do today was Senate Bill 180, but this is a lot of bills and a lot of talking. I'm just looking through the titles here. We've got surrender of infants, safety devices. We've got at work save program, tobacco, nicotine, e-cig tax, teacher housing and Mount Edgecombe funding. Talking about probably the taxation or regulation of LNG import facilities with the RCA. Occupational licensing boards. That's a pro forma bill that gets passed it shouldn't take very long. motor vehicle registration, civics education. This here is a give to Senator Gary Stevens. He's been carrying that bill for a long time and has never been able to get it passed. I would be highly suspicious if that bill hasn't risen to the level of priority that I've given to pay attention to. Employment information disclosure. This is an interesting bill right here. Senate Bill 181. If I have my bills correct, that might not be the same one. Maybe they already passed that one. Anyway, there was a citizens initiative that required employers to have sick time for their employees. A certain number of employees, you had to have this mandatory sick time, or time off. Forget. Anyway, point is, it was a voter initiative that passed 2 years ago. The legislature has has passed this bill that takes or repeals, is the right word I'm looking for, repeals part of that provision for seasonal workers and for businesses with only a handful of employees. I don't remember the number exactly, but handful of employees. So whatever the citizens initiative gets put out on the ballot and they vote and they say, yeah, let's do that. Sounds like good. 2 years later, the legislature, it's a minimum of 2. 2 years later, the legislature can change that and undo it if they need to, if they want to. Do what your rank can afford, right? That's what we said in the Army, in the military. Do what your rank can afford. You want to lose rank? You go right ahead and do that. You think you're not going to lose rank? You think you're going to get reelected? Then go ahead and pass that bill. They can't get this pipeline bill passed. I don't know why Alaskans would have confidence in anybody in that legislature. Like, send them all packing. Just send new people. Of course, you got 2 weeks for people to sign up, right? So in the next 2 weeks, if you want to replace the legislature, you got to have candidates who have filed to run for office. 2 weeks, that's it. That's all you got. Oh, let's see. Employment information disclosures, farm and agricultural land assessments. This is to improve, or no, this actually gives farmers property tax relief, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what Armed Services Committee does. I don't know what that regional has to do with education. Clean up marine debris and create an education fund. So STR 29, that's something that'll come to the voters. And I think this bill, this resolution here was specifically designed and put on the ballot to motivate people to get to the ballot in November, right? Everybody wants to support education. Yeah. Should we dedicate money from our budget to fund education? Even though the Constitution of the state prohibits dedication of funds, we can override that as people and say, yeah, we want to dedicate education funding. And you know what's going to happen the year after that? Some other special interest is going to come up with the idea, hey, let's put it out to the voters. Roads are really important, so let's dedicate a percentage of our state budget to road maintenance. You want unions who are tied to the trades, who are the ones who will be doing the maintenance necessary for deferred maintenance. Why don't we have a constitutional amendment to put a certain percentage of our budget dedicated towards deferred maintenance? Wouldn't we all be happy with that? I mean, if you're going to do it for education, maybe you don't. I know the conversation is going to be had, whether the legislature will agree to it or not. But the prisons will want theirs. It'll be an endless supply of people who are wanting to get their hands on the money too. Okay, so Senate Bill 180 is coming back to before the body when they can figure out how to solve this problem. Let's see. Is the House Alaskans? Not sure I understand. Yeah. Rick, speaking on behalf of all Alaskans tonight. What the heck is going on? Yeah. This is the best and the brightest that we sent to the legislature. Is that what Senate Bill 24 does? No, you got to be Senate Bill 24. You can have a sex change at 16 if you're emancipated or 18. Oh. I understand what you're saying, Al. They're changing the age limit to 21 for e-cigs. So you can have a sex change, but you can't get an e-cig. I got it. Devil Dog, good question. I believe that he has to veto the bill by the day. That's what's written in the Constitution. That's the limit is the day. So the way that I understand that, and unless I stand corrected from legislative legal or some attorney or the courts or something like that, the interpretation would be by the end of today. So by midnight tonight, he's got to veto the bill. Otherwise it takes effect after today, which would be the first minute, the first second of the next day. So that's what I understand. That's why he can hold on to it and why we haven't heard anything now, even though it's, almost 8 p.m. Business is closed. The close of business, that doesn't have anything to do with it. Legislature is still active. So that's my understanding, is that it's when this day is done, then the bill becomes law. That's my understanding. Rick had nothing better to do. Good on you for participating and providing oversight. They worked really hard at getting nothing done. That's government for you. That's government for you. Yes, Al, but what's the alternative? Like we could just select a king and he could appoint his court. Yes, of course. We voted these people in. Maybe we were doing this when we did, or maybe we had our hands over our ears or something. Yeah, I mean, we're in this pickle because of the people we sent down there. Every 2 years, this body, particular, this House body gets turned over, right? That's what the whole point of having a House of Representatives that is selected every 2 years is so that if you make a mistake, you can come back and correct it every 2 years. You're not stuck there until the king dies, until he chooses another court. They're not appointed for life. You get to change it every 2 years. I don't know whether there's any truth to the pipeline being dead because the process isn't complete yet. There may be no way for them to get Senate Bill 180 done and through, because, I mean, think about it. The House is dealing with Senate Bill 180, and then whatever they do, the changing of it, they would have to pass it back to the Senate, and the Senate would have to confirm the changes or deny the changes. And if they deny the changes, then they would go to a conference committee and try to iron it out. So the odds that we get this done and to the governor's desk are really slim, if impossible at this point, right? There's just not enough time in the day. If the Senate already gavelled out, then they're not gaveling back in. If they went on recess waiting to see what the House did, then maybe they could call their members back and take it up. But it is highly unlikely that they are going to be able to get a bill on the governor's desk today. But that doesn't mean the pipeline's dead. I mean, the narrative in the press can be the pipeline's dead because it appears to be dead. But when there's a special session, then the narrative is, well, they revive the conversation. The pipeline may not be dead after all. I mean, yeah, for all intents and purposes, if the pipeline needs what is being asked for by the governor and by Glenfarne, and we don't get it passed, then it's dead today. But you could bring it back to life tomorrow with a special session. Yeah, I saw that in a Senate, I think it was, no, I'm sorry. It was House Resources. House Resources also did that to their 381 bill, their House Bill 381. They dedicated, right? They can't do that. They say they're dedicating it, but it's designating it. It's a play on words, right? Constitution says you can't do this, so we're not going to do this, but we're going to make it sound like it. So they said a portion of the tax revenue, the portion of the revenue from the gas line is earmarked, dedicated, designated to education. It doesn't mean anything other than the legislature can turn a blind eye and say, oh, well, that money is headed to the education, and we don't have to think about that anymore. It could also choose to not do that because there's no way to force the legislature to spend that money that any given year. One legislature can undo what a past legislature has done. Otherwise, they don't have the power of the purse. The previous legislature had the power. The next legislature doesn't have as much power. That doesn't work. So, yes, I saw that there is a move afoot to try to earmark educate the tax money that's being generated from a pipeline that may not get built to education. This is the thing. This is what really absolutely frustrates me. I want better education in the state because those young ones that are growing up, they're going to be tomorrow's legislators, right? So I really want them to have I want the pool of people that we're going to have to choose from 10 years from now. I want them to be wise people too, maybe 20 years from now. I want them to have a good education, right? But you know what? Educators aren't more important than the mechanic, auto mechanic. I mean, how do any of us get to work if we need an engine replaced or we need some sort of work done on our car and the mechanics, we don't have any mechanics and they don't get paid enough. And all the mechanics went down to the lower 48 to work because they get paid more down there, right? Or cost of living is less. And so that they can choose, you know what? I mean, the teacher is not more important than the mechanic. What else? The people who run grocery stores, the stockers at not STL, not the. I was trying to make a joke, but I can't. The people who stock the shelves, the cashiers that check you out of your food, right? Help you pay for your food if you don't go through the self-pay line. Are teachers more important than them? I mean, how do you get your food if you see the connection that I'm drawing here? The legislature is behaving like the education lobby and the teachers, administrators, all of that education piece is more important than anything else. And therefore, we need to dedicate those funds. We need to earmark it away. We've got a constitutional look, I'll show you. That's what this is right here. Constitutional amendment says we're going to specify in the Constitution that a certain amount of money is going to be towards education, and the legislature doesn't get to say anything about it. Like, it's just going to be spent every year on education. No debate, just going to spend it. Okay. So you're making a statement that says that's the most important thing and everything else needs to take a back seat. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't for 1 year. What it just is frustrating to me that we can single out one particular, like what happens if the people don't go to work at the refinery down here in Nikiski? Do you think your gas is expensive now? Wait until all of it has to be imported. Right now, the refinery down here is making your gas and making the jet fuel. Talking about gasoline for your car. Are those workers less important than teachers? I mean, the budget's the budget is not paying those workers. I get it. Well, when I'm trying to draw the connection here, that good state policy recognizes that everybody's important. All of our economy is important. Not just singling out particular sectors of our economy and saying you get special treatment. I mean, that's what the defined benefits bill does too, right? Government workers are more important than private sector workers. We're going to make sure that private sector pays their taxes and funds the retirement for these government workers, regardless of whether a private sector worker gets a retirement or not. You're on your own. If you want to be taken care of, you're more important than the private. You go work for the government. I mean, that's what the policy is saying. They were talking about Senate Bill 9, surrender of infant safety device, if I'm not mistaken. I wonder if the at ease that's going on right now is about Senate Bill 9 or whether it's about 180. I suspect that it's not about Senate Bill 9. Rick says, is the House all Alaskans? Maybe not. Yeah, I mean, it's representative of all Alaskans because it's 40 districts and the state is broken up into 40 districts and there's no portion of Alaska that isn't in one of those 40 districts. So yes, it's representing, those people are representing all of Alaska. They may not be representing it well, but they are representing all of Alaska. Oh, Gary says that the handout, the packets were just handed out. So what happens here, if somebody makes an amendment or if there is an amendment going to be made, any one of the members can make an amendment. So they go up, they hand the amendment to the clerk that's sitting right, you can see the desks right here, these ladies that are sitting here in these chairs to the left of the speaker. That's the clerk, chief clerk, and the assistant clerks. And you go hand your amendment to them and they make sure that it's in order, proper in order. And then they have to go make copies for everybody there. So they got to make 40 copies so that everybody knows what the amendment is. And that takes time. So that may be what they're waiting for, is somebody had an amendment. But I also know if they've been there for this long, maybe they took a little short dinner break too. Normally when the speaker steps down, you know that it's a longer break than just making some photocopies. But that is what happens. If the runners are handing out the papers, but the people aren't coming back, then it probably wasn't for the amendment. Or in some cases, you've got 10, 15, 20, 30 amendments. I doubt there is that many amendments for Senate Bill 9, but I mean, it could happen. It might take a significant amount of time for those amendments to get copied and everybody come back. That usually happens during the big bills, like the budget bill. They'll come out with a batch of amendments, and you'll start processing those amendments, and then they'll keep adding on. You'll just have to keep taking the paper and sticking it underneath, and there's another amendment, another one. You get a stack of amendments that you know it's going to be a long night. Dixie asks a great question. Why was the tax bill for the pipeline, not discussed in February? Why did they wait? Well, I think it wasn't until March until the governor dropped the bill. But here's the deal. those of us that have been paying attention to the pipeline have known for years that we're going to have this conversation. I know that we can point to Glenn Farn's announcement. They just took, they've been at this for a year now, maybe a little less than a year. But the legislature has always known that it's going to have a conversation about property taxes. Anybody that has been paying attention to pipelines and to this project has known that this conversation's coming. Why does it have to happen right now? The best that I can say is that you're dealing with people who have different priorities. That's the best I can say. I know it's a non-answer, but for many in this body, the addressing the pipeline tax bill is something that is necessary in order to get the thing that they want done passed, which is the defined benefits pension. That's the reason that we're addressing this. I don't care whether it actually makes it through or not, right? It isn't the priority. If the pipeline doesn't get built, it's no skin off my back. Look at who this would be. All of Western Alaska. So your Bush caucus, your those members, with the exception of, you can set aside the North Slope borough, the representative for the North Slope borough. That's a special case. But if you're out in Nome, you're out in Bethel, you're down in where the speaker's from, down in Dillingham, pipeline doesn't mean anything to you. Like, it's not. I mean, it might mean something if the economy was to grow and things would be booming for your kids. They'll have jobs in Alaska, but that's really long-term thinking. Pipeline doesn't mean I get gas in those places, right? Look at the Panhandle. Look at the representatives that are from Sitka and from Juneau and from, I was just thinking of how many we got down there. A couple from Juneau and one from Sitka. Gas line's not going to benefit them. They're not going to have gas because of it. So what does it matter to that portion of the state? It doesn't. We're dealing with this bill because there are other things that we want. Is the defined benefits the only bill that's going to get vetoed? I mean, there is the possibility that the governor just says, hey, you know what? I'm not vetoing. I'm going to veto everything out of this legislation. You don't want a pipeline? I don't want your bills, and we'll veto your bills. Fine, override me. I don't care, but I'm going to veto them. I mean, if we're at that level of relationship with our state government right now, which is kind of where I think we're at, these people are not looking that far ahead, and some of them just don't care whether we have a pipeline or not. There's no benefit to their constituents. I mean, this is, and I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole, but there is an argument that I have heard people discuss this and have an argument that the state of Alaska is just too big. It needs to be broken up into different states because of this very thing. The Panhandle people are, the people that live down in the Panhandle, they have different priorities. They are very much different than South Central Alaska, than different than the interior, than different than Western Alaska. I mean, I don't know that I buy into that argument, because we should be able to find some solutions here. And I think that the problem is largely the issue of we don't have the right people sitting in those chairs. Like, the people who know better, who are never going to come, they're never going to volunteer, right? They would have to be voluntold. All of their neighbors would have to draft them. They'd be like, you know what? You are the smartest and the best of us. You need to go. You don't have a choice. You're going to go down there because you're a lot smarter than anybody in those chairs. That, I think, is largely why we have the problem we have, is we just don't have the quality of people down there. Honestly. Everyone sitting in that chair right now would take offense to that, right? Some of them will take less offense because they got thicker skin, but some of them will take offense to that. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about, Ben. You're just a sore loser. You were sitting here once, Ben. Are you saying that you weren't the best and the brightest? Hey, all I'm saying is you guys are screwing up a pipeline. You obviously can't be the best and the brightest. Yeah, I get that, Al. If I can call you Al, it looks like Al Barrett. We can't select a king because we don't have that kind of government, but we do choose our lords. If you want to consider the people who are elected as our betters for a time period, right? I get that. I understand that. These people put their pants on the same way as you do. Like, if you wear a skirt, they put their skirt on the same way you do. I've been there. I know that the concept of calling them lords and holding them to some higher level. I mean, if you're really truly going to compare these to lords and ladies of English nobility, I think that there is a class of people that would be represented by that title who have a different ability to, I don't know. I'm speaking out of turn here because I don't really know. I've never lived in England. They have some self-discipline and they have a different class and an expectation of behavior. Okay. I don't know whether that's good or bad. I'm just saying that from my understanding of English society, those who are in nobility have a different type of behavior than those who are commoners. That is not a good description of the people who are sitting in these seats. They're not holding themselves to a higher standard. Hell no. Maybe the Senate. Maybe. Not the House. No. The House is more like the commoners that you would, if you're still in the conversation of lords. The House is the commoners. Under no circumstances should you put those people sitting in those chairs somehow in a hierarchical position over you. Absolutely not. There's no justification for that. They represent you. They are not leading. Absolutely not. They're not leading. Not only are they not leading, but they're not following either. Like, if somebody stuck their head out and said, hey, this is what we're going to have to do, and they're going to try to do it without manipulating others, there's not enough people down there that would willingly follow. Okay, Rick says, Representative Robin Fryer convinced members of the House to agree to an amendment that will kill the gas line bill. It allows the North Slope Borough and the Kenai Borough to negotiate their own tax rate with a gas line developer. There may be an effort to rescind this, but otherwise the gas line is dead. That's a quote from the Alaska Story. I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, if that is what if that's what the Alaska Story is saying killed the pipeline, I don't agree with that at all. Yeah, I don't know. I trust that the boroughs are able to negotiate if they want the project. And that may be where the sticking point is. I know the Kenai Peninsula Borough wants a project. I don't know whether the North Slope Borough wants a project. So I think it could be wrong for the Kenai Peninsula, but maybe it's not wrong for the North Slope. You would think that even some tax revenue would be good for the North Slope, even if it's a portion of a number that's smaller than what is currently in statute. But again, if the current statute that's in place and in effect now governs a pipeline that is never built, then you don't get more revenue. I think that the Kenai Peninsula Borough would be willing to negotiate a reasonable arrangement with the pipeline producer. I'm confident that that is the case. I'm not so confident that the North Slope Borough would be interested. So maybe that's what is being referenced here, is that it's killing the pipeline. I will say that maybe just the concept of moving away from the volumetric tax has the potential to kill the pipeline as well. And maybe that's what, again, I haven't read Suzanne's article, so I guess I shouldn't jump right out there and say that I don't agree. But I think that the local municipality is, and I've spoken to Mayor Michicki about this, and I know that he wants to see the pipeline go through, and I don't think that he's at all trying to kill the pipeline. So I trust that he would be in a position to be able to negotiate something that doesn't kill the project. I mean, he's been involved in natural gas for a long time. So I don't, but the North Slope's completely different. Maybe that is the case. Anyway, I think that the economics of the project are very much in doubt when you stick with a property tax structure as your way of gaining revenue. And the reason, I don't know whether you guys know that, I think I brought this up before, but maybe I didn't. Let me see if I can find it real quick, because this is important. This is going to another news site here that I don't normally go to. It's going to the Alaska Beacon. And the article was about the pipeline. Can I search here real quick? But it was not about the gas pipeline. It was about taps. I may just have to summarize it if I can't find the article. Oh, that's not working. Let's try pipeline property tax. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So this was May 13th. This is important. Let me make that bigger for you. So very interesting that this article was written at this point in time, because it should telegraph to everyone why the legislature is making a mistake if they do not go to the volumetric tax. Okay. Oh, you need that bigger because you can't read it. You can go look on the website yourself too. Okay, so pipeline system property taxes has represented more than half of Valdez recurring revenue, okay? A decision setting the system's value at the municipality's preferred value, right? So what the municipality wanted, of at least $20 billion would result in pipeline owners paying at least $400 million a year in property taxes, compared to the $56 million that would be owed if the value is set at $2.8 billion, the value favored by the owners. This is exactly what Glenn Farn has talked about with regard to what will drive the cost of the pipeline, not just now, but in the future. It is dispute over the valuation of the pipeline and the infrastructure that gets built. And this is what investors look at and say, we see what the cost is now. Yes, it's large, but we also see the litigation cost that's going to happen with your property tax regime, your structure that you create to collect revenue. It's going to cost money every time you do an assessment. And you can't just do one assessment and be done. You're going to have assessments periodically for the life of the pipeline. So whenever somebody doesn't agree with the assessment, there's going to be some litigation and it increases cost, right? And so that cost is borne into the project in perpetuity. So it would be a more feasible project if we can find a way to reduce that cost or eliminate that cost going forward. This is an example exactly of why the volumetric tax was brought forward. This is happening on TAPS, on our Trans-Alaska Pipeline. This exact same thing would be happening on the gas pipeline if they passed a property tax structure and decided that's how we're going to generate revenue off of the pipeline. Okay. So this has been going on for a long time. Where was it? Let's say with the expiration of the settlement that ended in 2025, the State Department of Revenue's assessment for 26, based on the estimated cost to replace the system minus depreciation, actually boosted the pipeline system's value from the settled figure to 10.3 billion. Okay. But the settled figure, somebody didn't like that, and so they sued, right? And that's the problem. So that's the issue. Not only is it the tax rate, the amount of money that the state wants to collect off the pipeline, but it's creating the system that adds cost to the project over the long term. That's at stake here. That's at play. And to be honest, I don't hear that argument and that conversation happening in the circles in the committees that we're listening to, right? People don't get it. They don't understand it. They discount it and don't care. It's not a primary driver for why you would move to a volumetric tax. Why you would move to some sort of tax is money, not structure and risk avoidance, lawsuit avoidance, right? Well, does the legislature care about that? You can't spend risk avoidance. I'm pulling the floor session back up here. I'm not holding my hope that we're going to actually get to a solution on the. One more step. There you go. To a solution on the Senate Bill 180 right now, but it'd be interesting. I am having fun answering your questions, though. We're having a good conversation. Yeah, Rick, whichever amendment you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about the education amendment. If you're talking about the education amendment, it is a good thing that got killed on the floor. I witnessed it get accepted in the committee, so I know that this has been. It doesn't surprise me that it came to the floor because they wanted to see it in a different bill. Probably HB 381 is what they wanted and what they amended into it, the dedication of the education funding for the pipeline revenue. Al, thank you for telling me that I'm correct. The governor will call a special session. He will set the agenda. The legislature will not call the special session because too many bills will be added to the agenda. That is the pressure that is at play. If the legislature calls themselves to a session, then Katie, bar the door. Anything can be brought up and be added to the agenda. If the governor calls the session, then he sets the agenda. You're right. You're correct, and I'm correct. Gail, it's hard to see when one is seeing red. Yeah. Well, no need to see red yet. Just be patient. The night is young. There's only 4 hours left. And there's special session. And I know from a perspective of someone who's never been to Juneau and never went through this process, why can't you just make it happen? Why can't you just do the right thing? Right? I completely get that. There's nothing like the legislature I guess you could say that your local legislative offices at the borough or the city council would be an example similar to the legislature. So if you served on those, then you would have kind of a taste of what the legislature's like. But outside of that, there's no private business. There's no experience that you've had in private business that's going to prepare you for the differences or the uniqueness of the entity, the organization that is the legislature. There's just not. It is completely unique. So I understand why you would be so pissed off about what's happening. I am mad too, but because it's not possible for us to just do the right thing. It's just not possible. It's what we would want, but we can't do it. We don't have the right people down there to just do the right thing. So you just have to look at it as the process. Now, we get to a special session and we can't figure this out, and we're running out of time for the end of the fiscal year, and Glenn Farn's going to walk away, right? Now I'm pissed. Now I'm really pissed. But here's the problem. For special sessions in July, which is probably when it gets called, you got to make a decision as to replacing these legislators by June 1st. That's the deadline to file for elected office. So if you're going to wait to see the outcome of the special session before you decide whether you're going to replace these people, anybody in there, then you've waited too late. You got to wait one complete legislative cycle, 2 more years before you're able to replace them, because you didn't file for office. So you've literally got 2 weeks to decide whether the people sitting in these seats need to come back or not. 2 weeks. And then you got to have a viable candidate run against them if they're standing for re-election. Oh, yeah. Okay. So the pipeline's public approval rating of 75%. I think so. I think that the Juneau bubble and the thinking that's happening down there during session, it is strange how you can get focused on things that everybody else in the rest of the state's not focused on. It's strange how that happens. But yeah, if they're not in touch with what's actually with their people back home, and what is, like, if they're out of touch, which is a large number of them are, it's possible that people are going to be pissed when they find out that their gas and electric bills have no hope of going down because the legislature screwed up any opportunity to build a pipeline. I think the risk is underestimating how pissed people are going to be because of that. I think there's great risk there. Rick says just made him think of another point. If the line gets going to construction, an awful lot of people will quit those mid-range jobs and go to the pipeline jobs. Then what? Well, that opens up opportunity for people to move into Alaska. That's how wages increase. You got to hire people into the position. That's what a growing economy is. Yeah, I mean, that's going to happen. It just so happens, though, that many of the jobs, the trades jobs that are in the pipeline building, we don't have the number of welders in the state that we used to have. You know, as Cook Inlet is dried up, we don't have those welders. You don't have painters. You don't have the carpenters here anymore. There's a little bit of carpentry that is necessary. You don't have the trades. Those tradespeople have moved out of state and gone elsewhere. So largely those you can't move from one. If you don't have those skills, in the job that you have now, you're not transferring from one part of the economy into the oil economy for those jobs. If for roustabouts and for general labor, yeah, I get it. Truck drivers and loader operators and heavy machinery, that type of thing. Yeah, you could move from one area to the other, for one sector of the economy to the other. But the tradespeople, we're just short of trades people in the state of Alaska. And I think we're short elsewhere in the nation as well, but here in Alaska especially. So that is going to have to come from out of state. Or out of country. No two ands or buts about it. That is the only option we have. You don't have it in the state of Alaska to fill those needs. This might be true in some cases. Al, really would like to see a pay study to see how this shakes out. If you're an employer, you're definitely going to be looking, private employer, you're definitely going to be looking at what the state, a commensurate trade or job description at the state level is. When you're trying to hire people, you want your pay to be competitive. Yeah. I suspect that there are positions in the state of Alaska that are more competitive than private jobs. And then there are other positions in state that are less competitive and don't pay as much as what you would get in a private sector job. I think both exist because I don't think our state government is being managed all that well. Like we're not, I know for a fact that we haven't had a legitimate pay study, a legitimate look at that for a number of years. So there's no way that we could be making, informed decisions because we haven't spent money to do the bureaucratic work necessary to determine that from, within our own rules. Right now, could the managers be looking without the bureaucracy and be looking at the wanted ads and looking at Indeed and figuring out what their pay ought to be at? They might, but are they able to increase the pay? I honestly believe that this inability to properly manage our workforce pay is why we have such a large demand for, I want to say surplus, but earmarked money for positions that don't have people in them. This unfilled vacancies. Again, this is hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think that the reason that is necessary for our bureaucracy, not necessary from a good management perspective, it's the greasing of the skids. The whole government doesn't work if you don't have this extra money, this slush fund to pay people overtime because you haven't done what was necessary to pay them appropriately in the first place. I think that's one reason why you see it. I think another reason why is that people are like, hey, you know what? I've got a pension. And the more money that I apply towards my pension in overtime, the larger my pension is going to be. So if I can just work 10 hours a week in overtime, that's going to have a drastic impact to the money that I'm going to be owed as a pensioner in the future. So let's not do away with the overtime money. That slush fund that exists because we're appropriating money for positions that are never going to have people hired into them. That money is then used for overtime for other employees. So you're either solving the problem that you can't hire an employee and pay them what the private sector is, and you want to keep them. So you're going to give them overtime money, or people are wanting to leave because they want to go someplace else who's going to give them a better retirement. I don't know. Or they just are wanting to take advantage of the system. I think all of those could be accurate. I don't think that all state government positions are making more than what the private sector makes. Did McCabe put a call on already? I wasn't watching earlier today. That's how you piss off everybody in the room, right? If you're not familiar with a call, any member can place a call on the House when the speaker is, when you're in session, when you're not at ease, you just rise and say, I place a call on the House. And then the sergeant at arms and the bureaucracy, the staff, have to go find any legislator, any House member or you can do it the same thing in the Senate. So any legislator who isn't sitting in their chair, they go find them and they escort them back to the body, back to the floor, so that they can conduct their business. And whatever it is that is on the agenda at that point, so if it's an amendment, that call is for that amendment. If it's that bill, the call is for that bill. You could set it aside and do other business, but you can't vote on that bill or that amendment until the call is satisfied. Call is satisfied by either whoever placed the call removing it or the people showing up who are missing. And you can send the state troopers out after people and have them escorted back into the room, right? So if somebody's hiding out in their office, you can compel them to come back to the floor for a vote. Just be sure that you're not wanting to do that in the future, because if you piss somebody off, they're gonna do it right back to you. It just is. It's an example of the unprofessionalism that exists down there. You would think that everybody would just show up to do the votes and do what's necessary because that's your job. But no, there are members who are going to step out. They're going to be like, I don't want to vote on this. I'm gone. I'm out of here. I'm going to go for a walk out of the building, and you can't find me because I'm not going to vote on this. I don't want to be held accountable for my vote. That happens. Very frustrating. Well, we're not getting much done tonight, are we? So not only are those people wasting their time, we're kind of wasting our time sitting here watching them waste their time. It's kind of funny. Craig, let's see. What did you say, Craig? There will be some big energy price equalization if the gas bill happens to buy off the non-railboat folks. Yeah, the non-railboat folks, well, I say at least in Western Alaska, have the PCE. So they're going to be compensated already with regard to fluctuations in cost of energy. But that may be what's happening. If the Southeast and Southwest representatives are the ones that are balking, then potentially there's some deal being worked here to get them to support it. Yeah, I mean, that could be. I have not heard anything, and I haven't seen any amendments or any legislation that's addressing power cost equalization. Let me think back. Yeah, I could be wrong on that, but I don't think that there's been a serious discussion on modifying that to ensure that as the gas line gets built, that there's more energy subsidy going out to Western Alaska. And as I say that, maybe I do remember somebody discussing it. I don't know that it's been it's found its way into any of these final bills. If there's somebody on here that can correct me if I'm wrong, then I'll stand corrected. Al, come on, stay focused. Didn't they already deal with the giant cabbage? Isn't that bill done and off to the off to the governor? Oh, you're picking on him. He puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like you. Not representing my district. I am doing so. Senator Giesel believes that she's doing what's best for Alaska. Yeah, maybe. I mean, if this is what's best for Alaska, then I don't know what Alaska it is you're trying to that she's trying to build. Well, if you talk to Giesel or you listen to Giesel, Senator Giesel, she's not going to say she's holding it hostage. She's going to say she's doing the due diligence that's required. And there's just so much to talk about. Okay. These are my theories. I think that the alternative energy folks are biding their time until Trump is no longer in office, until there is a Democrat elected, there's a Democrat legislature, federal legislature, Congress, and there's more money flowing for alternative energy, because I think that the wind was kind of knocked out of the sails of the energy transition when Trump got elected, both nationally in the United States and internationally. It's kind of taking the wind out of the sails a little bit. But you know what? I see it on my social media feed. There are organizations spending money to help remind us that the energy transition's not gone away. It's just been delayed, right? So I think that the people who are the acolytes of that religion, they still believe that we have to do something to save the planet. And that something is get rid of oil and gas. I mean, it's why the Democrat Party the Alaska Democrat Party has said, we don't want oil and gas and we need to get rid of it. We need to transition away from oil and gas. Okay, well, you're drinking the Kool-Aid of some cult. Okay, you're approaching this with religious fervor, and that's not going away. That's the undercurrent that exists here. So I think that part of what is driving what you saw and what we all saw in Senate Resources is this concept that we need energy prices, oil and gas energy prices, to stay high in order for alternative energy to be competitive and to be chosen, to be the preferred option, because it's so expensive to go with gas and oil. It's less expensive to go with wind and solar. Okay. Well, if you put a pipeline in and the cost comes way down, the cost for energy comes way down, both natural gas and the electricity that's generated from it, then it's not as cost effective to go with wind or solar. It's more expensive at that point. So if you want to see a transition happen in a couple years, you don't build a pipeline that's going to be there for 50 years because you're never turning it off. You don't get to turn it off. Whereas if you import LNG, you're only subject to importing LNG for the length of the contract that you sign. So it's easier to turn off and not accept LNG imports because they're not necessary. We've got plenty of electricity being generated from wind and solar, right? That's the mentality here. So they're looking at it as a strategy. They can't tell you this. They can't say it out loud. But if you want to continue the energy transition to wind and solar, you don't want a pipeline, because that makes it harder for you to justify spending the money on wind and solar, because now you've got you've got generations worth of natural gas that's lower cost. Okay. I think that's part of the issue, both politically and perspectives on energy wise, as to why Senate Resources is so adamantly opposed to the gas line. I think that's at least one reason. I think the people that are the personalities that's sitting on Senate Resources, especially Giesel, don't want to see Governor Dunleavy have a win. It's just petty. It's just petty. There wouldn't need to be another reason. She's just petty. Don't want to give Dunleavy a win, just like they don't want to give Trump a win. A gas pipeline would be a win for Trump. Why would the Democrats on Resources want Trump to have a win? Solidarity with the Democrats around the world here, at least in the United States, the socialists. We don't want Trump to win. So we'll oppose his he's spoken about this, that it's a priority for his administration, right? We need to get this pipeline built. Okay, well, if they can stand in the way, think of the champion they are to their cause to stand in the way, right? They're the tip of the spear that's opposing Trump. I think those are the reasons why. Senator Giesel is obviously not looking at Alaskans and saying it would be in the best interest of average Alaskans to not have this pipeline. It would be much better for us to import LNG. That's going to be higher priced, and it would be much better. I mean, that conversation is illogical. That doesn't work. You would have to have something else in addition, like wind and solar, some alternative energy source. And I think this is why you've seen bills get put forward, or amendments, or the conversation about Susitna-Watana Dam. That is that has been brought up this tail end of this legislative session. I'm remembering which committee it was that added that in. Maybe it was finance, or maybe it was House Resources. Maybe it was on the floor. I can't remember. Anyway, there was language put in that said, we want to change the Alaska Energy Authority's mission, right? This isn't something other than some intent here. We want to change the Energy Authority's mission to prioritize the development of the Susitna-Watana Dam. And I think the reason for that is because if this gas line fails, they want to be left holding the bag. Like, they want to get the blame. So now they can say, well, the project just wasn't cost effective. We adjusted the taxes as much as we could, but we've got this constitutional requirement for maximizing the benefit to Alaskans of our natural resources, right? So we couldn't do the taxes that the project wanted because that's unconstitutional. We have to charge more in taxes because that's what the Constitution says. We're required to do that. Okay. So the project just wasn't feasible with the required taxes. So what we need to do is get the dam built. We need to focus on getting this dam built. Okay. It doesn't matter whether the dam actually gets built in the future. It just matters that you can point to something to distract from the fact that you're not going to have a pipeline, and you can appear to look like you're being reasonable. That's why that language get put in there. I mean, I would love to see the Susitna-Watana Dam or some other dam that is hydroelectric and provides electricity for generations, just like I would like to see a gas line. I mean, either or both would be great. The timing of the initiative to revitalize the effort on Susitna-Watana Dam, and the method by which they're going about it, which is just changing the mission statement of AEA, doesn't force AEA to do anything. It just changes the language of their mission statement. I mean, you could think that, oh, well, your mission's to do this, but that doesn't force the board of directors to do anything. You're not appropriating money. You're not setting something in statute that says this is what you have to do. Report back to us when you're done. Right? You're not creating anything that's forcing that to happen, but you want people to think that you're forcing something to happen. I think it's to distract. It's to say we are doing something. We're doing our due diligence. We just couldn't do what the Dunleavy administration wanted and what the pipeline producer wanted. Okay, appears that we're recessed. They have more to talk about than amendments for SB 9, evidently. Not a good sign for getting 180, 108. Sorry, I have to remember what I'm talking about here. And now I can't scroll. There we go. 180. Anyway, so I think that's why you saw that come forward, is they don't want to be left getting the blame of especially people who are in purple districts or red districts that are, I mean, like Chuck Kopp's in a position, right? He could get the blame for people in Anchorage who are like, Chuck, what do you think the defined benefits was more important than getting a gas line? Absolutely not. Everybody in the state of Alaska, at least along the rail belt, and not, I mean, you know, as soon as the words were trying to come out of my mouth, I'm thinking about Western Alaska and how costly energy has been for them. But everybody along the rail belt knows that the cost of energy is going up. Like some of those costs from the winter purchases are just now hitting or they have been hitting us in the last month or so, right? So people saw their electric bills skyrocket. Like, why? What the heck? I didn't use more electricity. Why am I getting charged more? It's just now hitting them. Well, that disconnect with the legislature is real. Like, the legislature may not realize, the legislators may not realize that their people that they're representing are getting shocked by the cost of their electricity. That connection and that communication hasn't happened, or it hasn't happened in enough to generate a sense of urgency, right? And so there's a disconnect here. I don't think Senator Giesel's concerned about any of that. I think she's just disconnected. She's at a different income bracket, and it doesn't matter what her electric bill is. She can afford it, and she's just not thinking about other people. Holding out for Alaska, I don't see that at all. Yeah, Rick, I think this is probably the most motivating factor for her and for others on the pro defined benefits, pro union side, right? Pro public union side. I mean, the other thing about this, the private sector union, those folks that are union members, but on the private side, they're not getting benefit like this. They're not getting treated like this from their unions. It's only from the public sector that are getting this sweet deal with a pension, that they don't have to worry about future economic upheaval. They're guaranteed a pension no matter what, right? This is just the public sector demanding something that they feel entitled to. Yeah, clearly they're in cahoots. He can call an unlimited number of special sessions. The governor can call an unlimited number. I mean, at some point in time, the legislature can gavel in and gavel out on day one and not take it seriously, right? That's already happened. They'll hold technical sessions. They'll do no work. They'll collect the per diem for 30 days, and then they'll gavel out. He can call as many of those sessions, but why would you do that? You would just cost the state more. The legislature obviously is not going to do the work. You can't force them to do the work. You can call a special session, but it's only the people that get to force them to do the work. So here's an interesting conversation that you can have at the local. If you've got people running for your local assembly and they want to tax the gas line, they want the borough to be able to tax the gas line, then you should think about that. It should factor into your decision to support them in election, right? There's a connection here that people ought to be seeing that says, and I've got this session's recessed. I suspect that it won't be coming back for at least an hour. We're having a conversation right now that says, hey, if you don't adjust the property tax, the pipeline's not going to get built. Okay. So that's worst case scenario. What happens if you find a magic number where the pipeline does get built and you keep a property tax and it's just higher cost? Okay. Well, under that environment, who actually pays more? It's not the company. It's the consumer. So it is whoever you're exporting the gas to and whoever your in-state ratepayers are. That's who you're going to be paying. So every time that your local municipality or the state says, we need to increase taxes on the commodity of gas, on the enterprise of producing gas, of producing LNG, this whole enterprise, every time we say, well, the state demands we need more tax revenue, okay? What you're saying is Alaskans and whoever you're exporting to, the consumer in that country, they need to pay more. It's a hidden tax. A hidden tax on you. Yes, it's a property tax on the oil. Yes, it's a property tax on the gas. But if you're the consumer, if you're consuming that commodity, then you're paying that tax. So you could have lower cost gas, but for the taxes that your local or state is putting on that. So what is that dollar figure that you're going to pay in hidden tax versus other means to generate that same revenue from other economic activity or whatever, giving up the dividend, for example, the other choices that your government has for generating that same revenue. somebody is going to pay that revenue. Spending is taxation. You're going to find it from somewhere. The government is going to get it from somewhere. It is not accurate to say that it's going to get it from the pipeline, from the company, no, it comes from the consumers that are buying the gas. So every time your legislator demands more taxes or your borough assembly demands more taxes, that means they're demanding higher cost gas. That's what they're demanding. So there's a balance that has to be struck there. And if your local assembly assemblyman who's running doesn't understand that, I wouldn't elect them. Like, you don't want them in office. Why don't they start committee hearings and floor sessions earlier? So what you're seeing now at the end of the session the last 5 days is not a good example or not a good representation of what normally happens. Normally your sessions start, especially on Mondays, at I think it's 11 a.m., 10 or 11 a.m., probably 11 a.m. on Mondays and then 10 a.m. on Wednesday and Friday, if I have my numbers correct. Anyway, starting late morning, Mondays especially, because some people fly home and they need to catch that first flight, 8 a.m. flight out of Anchorage or out of wherever, and make it back to the session first thing in the morning so that they can be on the floor. That's one of the reasons why it gets started. If you started it at 8 a.m., then people have to arrive the night before, and some people don't want to do that. So that's why they do a late floor session. There are other reasons. Legislators have got things going on. They've got their own offices. They've got business going on. Everybody gets in and gets situated with their own employees, get people tasked out and doing what needs to be done, respond to emails, take up urgent phone calls first thing in the morning, gives a couple hours for people to get the day underneath them and figure out what to focus on. If they're not doing that before they go home the night before, if things haven't changed, and then have a floor session. So I think it kind of makes sense from my point of view to have a late morning start on your floor sessions. Just gives you and your staff and any coordination that needs to happen before you go to floor session. It gives you time to manage that. Now, there are some legislators that are not going to show up before 8 a.m. They're not morning people, and you wouldn't want them there any earlier because they would be grouchy. Things would not be productive. So I think that's why, largely, that you have sessions that start later. Committees, there are committees that start earlier, and that's up to the chair and the committee as to what time they're going to start. But generally, you do have some committees that start at 8 a.m. I don't remember. On rare occasions, they'd start before that. But you've also got the permanent staff that have to come in and transcribe things to think about. And a normal 8 to 5 job is just easier. Anyway, those are some of the reasons or excuses. Oh, yeah, no doubt that part of the problem that we're witnessing here is lack of education, 20 years ago. Like our education system is at the bottom and has been for a while. If this comment actually is about our education system and the legislators are not improving the quality of our education, they've obviously increased funding, but have they done anything to increase quality? If that's what your comment is, then that also is true. But I'm not so sure how much that the state is actually responsible. I truly believe that the local decision makers are the ones that have the highest impact on quality of education. It's not these yahoos in the legislature. It's not the bureaucracy at the state level. It's your school board and your school district and your parents That's who's going to have the highest quality. Why in the world are we moving from curriculum to curriculum every couple of years? Like, this is killing us. As soon as we get to something, somebody has a new idea and we change to something else and spend a bunch of money, and just this revolving door of curriculum is part of a problem that we have with quality control in our education system. Well, I mean, a special session, they can run just as much in a special session as they can in a regular session. People are going to be pissed off. I'm telling you. You show up in July when you're supposed to be running for office and campaigning and raising money, because you can't campaign and raise money while there's a special session on. Maybe that's another reason to have a special session, so your incumbents are handicapped. Yeah, Craig, you're asking a question I can't answer on the air. Have not made a decision yet. Deadline is 1 June. Could be. Al says he believes the gas line is going to be a major part of the congressional races. It could be, but under what context? Because the federal government needs to do something about it? Because right now it's 100% in the state's purview, and it's a private sector run enterprise, right? So if the legislature fails to act and it appears that the pipeline's not going to happen, can Congress step in and do something? Would Peltola say, hey, the incumbent hasn't done enough? Would somebody who's challenging Begich say he's not done enough? They couldn't get us a pipeline. I mean, would Alaskans buy that it's somehow Congress's fault that we don't have a pipeline? I'm not seeing the connection. Maybe it would be, but it would only be if the federal government's going to take some action here to make it happen, or failed to take action to make it happen. That the federal delegation is going to get blamed or can use it. I don't know. Maybe I'm short-sighted and I don't see that, but obviously the federal delegation wants to see the gas line go, and they have been working behind the scenes. They don't control what the legislature does, though. Maybe it comes down to supporting Trump in what play he might have up his sleeve if the legislature is incapable of acting. I don't know what that would mean. Does he come in and make it a federal project? Hey, that's interesting. I don't think we're going to have Iranians coming to Alaska to build our pipeline. I think they've got a lot of welding that needs to be done in their country. They probably do have some good welders over there. Maybe not the same standards that we have in the United States, but they got plenty of work to do. Let's put it that way. It looks like we're coming back here. Good news. Dixie again, and I covered this earlier in the show. I'm not disagreeing with you. There are positions, jobs where the state workers are making more and certainly working less than private sector counterparts. But I do happen to know that there are some jobs that are probably not competitive with private sector. The legislature, I believe that conversation was either last session or this session. They took up this issue. As a matter of fact, I think it was last session. No, they're running together now. Anyway, there was a conversation about pay studies and doing the bureaucratic process for figuring out whether our pay is competitive with the private sector. And I believe that was last session. They appropriated money to be able to do that pay study. Heaven forbid we actually expect our current managers to do their own work, figuring out what their employees should actually be being paid. But that's not how the system works, right? And I'm not an expert in this area, but you've got union contracts that are demanding certain pay. You've got a pay scale at the state level, and this has always been really frustrating to me because you've got a pay scale that rewards both seniority and longevity, right? So you're going to get more pay over time. Your pay raises over time as you increase your steps and your longevity. So you're always getting additional money if you're on the state pay scale. But you'll have a conversation from union contracts. Oh, we haven't had a pay raise in forever, or not keeping up with inflation, or whatever, right? We don't ever talk about the automatic increases that we have within our pay system. We just say our contract hasn't said that we should have additional pay increases. Anyway. Rick, my hair looks good. My hat, I need a hat, so I get wound up with a hat on. You think that is what matters? Maybe. Variety is the spice of life. All right. Next time I wear a hat, you'll feel better because I wore a hat. Yeah. We covered this earlier too. It is clearly people are supporting, they want a pipeline built. I don't know. This is a disconnect in our legislature. We leave that to the sergeant at arms and the state troopers. I don't know that they have billy clubs. The troopers have lasers, tasers. Would be a weird scenario where legislators were tased to get them back to the floor. Like, are you really going to do business after you come back after you've been tased? Don't think that's going to happen. Would be funny though. Would be a hit story. No, I didn't hear a lot of what happened on the floor today. Sorry. Maybe I should be, as I'm a host of a show that's providing commentary on the floor. But you know what? I knew I'd be disgusted. I kind of had a suspicion of what would happen. I had other things that I needed to do. What I really wanted to see was the outcome of this. I mean, it's one thing to just make fun of people all day, but I really want to see things happen. Like, I would really like that if the time that I spend on this show and talking with you translates into some sort of influence that causes things to happen. I know, crazy thought. I'm not here to just make fun of people. I really do want to see things happen. The more people that pay attention and run with the truth that we uncover, that's what needs to happen. I don't, maybe it's just my personality, but I don't feel the need. Yes, I will comment on the stupidity, but I don't feel the need to call it out. Like it's somewhat immature. Anyway. It is the end of session, and it is probably doesn't matter what bill comes up. You're going to have tempers flare. Again, I've been there. I know exactly what the absolute frustration, especially being in the minority and not being able to do a damn thing about these people, some of these people needing to go off and talk about things when the truth and the way forward is staring them in the face and they just don't want to do it. Absolutely frustrating. You're like, there's nothing I can do but sit in my chair or go pace the halls, or there's nothing I can do. It is frustrating, but it's the best we've got, right? I mean, what is the alternative? What's the alternative? What are you saying here, Deshana? They're clearly not considering that the developments already in the works via, I think, Senator Sullivan, will not be sustained by wind and solar. Military expansion alone will not allow for fossil fuel removal. Okay, so if you're talking about the energy transition, we're not talking about a logical thing. We're talking about a thing that is in the realm of religious fervor. That is, we're doing this because we're all going to die if we don't, right? Think back to 2020, 2021, when people are saying you got to keep your 6 feet distance in the stores and you got to wear your masks. And if you take your mask off, we're all going to die. I mean,
Will the House please come back to order?
A lot of that is...
We have Senate Bill 9 before the body. Madam Clerk, you're going to have to remind me where we were before we...
Surrender of infant safety device.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill number 9, Judiciary, surrender of infant safety devices is before the body in second reading.
Mr. Majority Leader, I
made it earlier, but I'll make it again.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I move and ask unanimous consent that the House Judiciary Committee substitute for Senate Bill 9, Judiciary, with a new title be adopted in lieu of the original bill.
All right, so they got to figure out where they were not talking about. Very clearly, they were not talking about Senate Bill 9 during this break, right? Otherwise, they'd know where they were at. They were talking about other things, or they were eating dinner.
Judiciary Committee substitute has been adopted. And I think, Madam Clerk, we're getting back to where we left off. Are there any amendments?
There are no amendments, Mr. Speaker.
There are no amendments, Mr. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move and ask unanimous consent that the House Committee substitute for Senate Bill 9, Judiciary, be considered engrossed, advanced to third reading, and placed on final passage.
Hearing no objections, so ordered. Madam Clerk, please read the title for the third and final time.
House Committee substitute for Senate Bill number 9, Judiciary, by the House Judiciary Committee.
Okay, so now they're going to vote on that bill tonight. They'll vote on it here in just a minute after whoever wants to talk about it. So this is what could happen to Senate Bill 180.
It's getting late.
If you wanted to object to it and keep 180 or Senate Bill 9 to the following day, you could do that.
And yeah, let me be frank with you. Alaska's safe surrender law allows a parent to safely surrender an infant under 21 days old directly to a person if the parent no longer feels able to care for the child. However, there are still barriers to safely surrendering an infant to a person directly. SB 9 would authorize the installation of climate-controlled safe surrender devices as an alternative to physical surrender to a person. The bill outlines requirements for infant safety devices such as appropriate signage, an alarm system that triggers a 911 call when a device is opened, and automatic lock to secure the infant after use. The bill allows these safe surrender devices to be installed in a conspicuous place with appropriate signage in hospitals, other health facilities, fire stations, or police stations. And I think we have all heard this bill and all have listened to this bill and know what it does. And so I just simply ask for your support.
Representative Fields.
I'll be brief. This bill came through my committee and I failed to identify some issues that I subsequently became aware of, namely concerns brought about by the inventor of the baby box, issues around what happens if a baby is kidnapped and placed in a box, and some other safety issues. So I'm just briefly registering why I'm not supporting the bill. Thank you.
Not seeing additional debate and no wrap-up comments.
Okay, I'm muting that for just a minute. We'll see how they vote on this here in a minute out of some curiosity. But Deshana says landmine reported House Finance meeting right now, and I just checked in on, and they are recessed. So maybe that's what the break was for, was Finance had to do something. Looks like 35-5, they're going to pass the House Committee substitute. I mean, look, this is a waste of time, right? We got how many days in the session left? And, oh, I'm sorry. That is Senate Bill 9. I'm mistaken. So I thought that was House Bill, Senate Bill 9. So this is going to become law, or at least go to the governor. Okay. As I was saying here, Deshana, you said that the not be sustained by wind and solar. This isn't logical. This is a religious fervor, not logical argument. So why we need to move to this transition of wind and solar, why we need to end oil and gas, right? So we're not having logical conversations with people over this. It is an ideological I don't know what it's not a economic and grow our economy conversation. It is a protect the human race because we're all going to die conversation, right? It's a similar thing as to why you needed to have government intervention and y'all needed to take extraordinary steps to keep everybody alive during the COVID piece of this, right? It's the same fear mentality that's causing this drive to think we need to save ourselves from a planet that's dying. It is, yes, we need to be more efficient. Yes, we need to not pollute. Like, I'm not opposed to any of that effort, but to think that we're somehow going to control the globe and the weather and the climate of the globe is complete nonsense. I mean, one or two volcanoes go off and you've just upended your strategy, right? I mean, it's nonsense. It's just nonsense. It's religious nonsense. So that's why we're not having a logical conversation about wind and solar. It is acolytes of a religion. There's a solution for us. Low cost, burn coal. Giesel's not the only one. I've had conversations with legislators, and I've said this before. I say, if we're talking about the economy, and the government is the economy. They don't understand that there's something else out there. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. Government is the economy. That's their statement. We can have a discussion on Alaska Work and Save program.
For committee substitute for Senate Bill number 21, Labor and Commerce, by the House Labor and Commerce Committee, entitled An Act Establishing the Alaska Work and Save Program in the Department of Revenue, relating to depositing permanent fund dividends into investment accounts and providing for an effective date.
Representative Costello.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 21 is a bill that creates an automatic individual retirement account program for small businesses to offer to their employees. Currently, 64% of businesses do not offer a retirement option for their employees, and this is a great way to retain and recruit workers. What it does is it deducts takes 5% of per paycheck and puts it into a retirement account that follows the worker. We would be one of 17 states that has this type of program. And if it becomes law, we would be working with a multi-state partnership. Again, this has no impact on the employer, but it allows employees to save for their retirement. This is a real issue for many of our workers who don't save for retirement. It's rather shocking how little many Alaskans have saved when they reach retirement age. And so this bill was actually brought to the legislature by AARP. We received 50 letters of support from small businesses in Alaska. And through the process, I want to thank the member from District 24 because he amended the bill to include a pick, click, save option so that employees who have this option can automatically move their dividend into their IRA. And in addition, if you want to move your dividend into your own IRA, you can do that too, very simply with your pick, click, save option. Again, I want to thank the AARP for bringing this to us. When we heard the bill in the House Finance Committee, we heard testimony. One of the testifiers said that this really is a gift, and we have not seen any objection to this legislation. So I really encourage everybody to press the green button, and thank you.
I would be opposed to this bill, just to be honest with you. There's nothing that this bill is doing that an employer can't already do. Like this is growth of government to do something that the private sector is already able to do. They just choose not to. So you've got private businesses that are coming to the state to say, why don't you use taxpayer money to create a program that I can participate in so that it doesn't cost me money? This is the same way that we've got government paying for childcare. Employers could just pay their employees more, and then you wouldn't need government childcare. Employers could provide retirement systems. Oh, what do you mean? To be able to do that, we need a growing economy? Oh, how would that happen? Maybe low-cost energy? Maybe that would help me grow my business? I mean, you see that this is more let government take care of us attitude, and it's coming from a Republican. I love you, sister, fellow Republican. This is the wrong way to be going. We don't need government to take care of us. The private sector can solve this problem. If it's necessary, shut up, Bryce. My show. If it's necessary, I'm just going to spitball here and go out on a limb and say this bill establishing this system of retirement is just a smidgen. It's just a reflection of what state government workers get through their retirement, whether it's defined contributions or defined benefits, right? It's just a smidgen, right? Because we're not going to recreate the whole defined contributions or defined benefit system for private people. So that's just allowing them to put a portion of their permanent fund dividend or whatever in. If our retirement system is good enough for state workers, for public workers, why isn't it good enough for private workers to be able to participate in it? Why not? If you really cared, why not open up the defined contribution system to the entire workforce of Alaska? Boy, that would help with recruiting and retention. Your businesses wouldn't have to fund, the management of the fund, right? They likely have an employer contribution portion that they'd have to, but then the government would be taking care of us, wouldn't it? We have got to get away from this mentality in this state of looking to the government to solve our problems. It's so stinking frustrating to me. Those are Republicans. I'm at a loss. Like if you're looking at the legislature and you're saying, well, we gotta have unity. Let's support the Republicans that are coming up with solutions for our state. Unity. Don't criticize each other. Unity. We're all going to get things done if we just have unity. Okay, then what is the unity for? Is the unity to... I want to hear it. What is going on here?
In future budget planning periods to best align the funding sources with available program revenue. So I looked at this. I looked at the fiscal note. I said to myself, and I knew it was me because I was wearing my clothes. I said, "Can you vote for this because it's got a fiscal note?" And the answer is the fiscal note is obviously a projection by the department on what they think might happen. So they're giving us the worst case scenario. I think the benefits of this program far outweigh the fiscal note, and I think in the future we will see that this program actually benefits Alaskans, and it benefits small businesses, and it benefits employees in ways that that we can't even determine here tonight. So I think I'll be a yes vote on this one, Mr. Speaker, for those reasons, even though I know that as a fiscal conservative, I need to be spending some time in reducing the cost to Alaska. Thank you.
So sorry.
Can you wrap up comments, Representative Costello? Are you ready for the question?
Because private business, this is the danger that we are in. AARP and private business, that's the example. This is going to pass. This is going to pass with, let's see here. Well, thank you. My representative voted no. Yep, Kenai Peninsula voted no on that. Good for you. Good for you. We're going to point to small businesses, and AARP is demanding that the state spend tax dollars. And it's Senate Bill 21. It's going to become law unless the governor vetoes it. Spend tax dollars to set up a retirement account so that businesses can give retirement to their employees, because businesses couldn't do that on their own. We need tax dollars to do that for people. We need to subsidize private industry to do that. We need government to take care of us. And because this is a this is a Republican carrying the bill, Republicans need to champion this because we have unity. Why the hell would anybody want to be part of a Republican Party that does stupid things like this? Why? Why would we do that? Why do we need unity if this is what it's going to cost us? Good God. And you want me to go back?
Attached 1 new fiscal note and 7 new 0 fiscal notes. Citing the report due pass, Representatives Moore, Hannan, Galvin, co-chairs Josephson, Schrage, and Foster. No recommendation, Allard and Tomaszewski. Amend, Bynum and Jimmy. There is 1 House committee substitute.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move and ask unanimous consent that the House Finance Committee substitute for Senate Bill 24 Finance be adopted in lieu of the original bill.
No.
You're telling me to let the blood pressure drop, huh? Have some fun here. Don't take it so seriously. CCC as a facial Al, I think maybe you had the bourbon. I'm not sure what you're saying here. It's getting harder and harder to know who is a conservative. Yeah, all I can say is that if this were a different time period in the session, the votes would probably be different. It is the end of the session. People are not thinking straight. It is 9:00 at night. Nothing good happens. No decisions happen good that are after 9 p.m. AARP. We're going to trust that AARP's got what we need? I can already hear it now. There are people within the party, within the Republican Party, are going to be like, well, look at the district that she's from. It's a purple district. She's got to speak to the voters of the district that are demanding that we have state funded private investment. We got to subsidize that too. We got to have that. Can't the Republicans just get along? What is the problem with you Kenai Peninsula people? Why can't you just support something that the moderates in Anchorage want to have? What's the big deal? The state pays for state employees' retirements. Why can't the state pay for private employee retirements? What's the big deal? Can't we all just get along and behave as a Republican Party? And can't we all just do that? The reason that unity is important for people going to an organization like the legislature is because you're unified over what you're going to get done. And here is what disunity costs you. This is what you get when you have disunity over what you're going to go do. You get all of this. Get all of this. And you got a pipeline bill that what really matters is this right here. And we're not going to do that because we are disunity. You want to unify over something? Then unify over something that really matters. Republicans unified when Lincoln was elected. We abolished slavery. Where does that fall? I'm sure that they had demands of their time, right? They may have a little bit different demands, but everybody's got an opinion, and they had opinions back then too, right? Everybody wanted something back then too, right? So where did abolish slavery fall within the categories of their tobacco, nicotine, e-cig demand of the day, right? You follow what I'm saying? Motor vehicle registration and civics education. I'm sure somebody had the stupid things then too, right? So where did it fall? Was it down here at the bottom? Was it at the top? Where did it fall within the priority of the people who are representing? They got it done. They got it done. Abolish slavery. Big deal. Heavy lift. Took lots of political capital. They're able to get it done. Republicans unified to get it. What are Republicans unifying over in the state of Alaska? What are they unifying over? You know the people who are unified in the state of Alaska? They're the people that want government. They want a pension. We're unified over that. Let's get a pension. Let's hold the pipeline hostage until we get our defined benefits bill. Get our pension. We're unified over that. Nary a peep from the Republican Party. Are they or are they not? What happens when the governor signs it? Was that a good thing or a bad thing? Were we unified? Like none of the Republicans signed on to it? Or did they? A handful of them did. Chuck Kopp will sign on to it. Louis Stutz will sign on to it. I could pull up the vote and show you who voted for it coming out of the House. That's a big deal. A return to a defined benefits pension is a big deal. Is that part of the party? Is that where conservatives are unified over? This is what you get when you focus on winning elections just because you've got a party and the party doesn't know what it wants. Like the people that you put up for election, I don't care what you want to do. I just care that you're a Republican. Okay. This is what you get. Well, are you kidding me? I should jump over here and see if we could, no, House Finance coming soon. So the recording is not up yet for House Finance. But you're saying they met to discuss an invasive species bill. Yeah, okay. Anyway. I don't know what else to say here. We've got e-cigs is what we're talking about now.
Bad policy and doesn't reduce smoking. I'm 100% behind the T21 initiative, but I'm not for raising the age of fines and penalties on 19 and 20-year-olds. I'll wait for any questions.
Representative Stab.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support this amendment wholeheartedly, and I would ask for a little bit of indulgence from you and the Madam Rules Chair. Mr. Speaker, 6,939 days ago, I was unfortunately witnessed the murder of my company medic in Iraq.
So Will Stapp's a smoker. Jeremy Bynum is not. They're both Republicans. One doesn't want Amendment 2 and one does.
The underlying bill would fine and punish individuals who were 20 years old and 19 years old for using tobacco or vaping with a fine from state government. That's not in line with the T21 provisions in the underlying bill. Mr. Speaker, like I did my first deployment to Iraq in 2007. I was wounded in combat when I was 19 years old. I came back to Iraq from Alaska in December of 2007. I had just turned 20. And during that deployment, Mr. Speaker, even being an avid non-smoker, I decided I would develop a habit for smoking. And Mr. Speaker, I tell folks, in the event that a municipal of Anchorage police officer or a state trooper had decided to issue me a citation and drag me into court for using tobacco when I was 20 years old because they decided that I was worthy of being fined, even though I was wounded in combat fighting in a war for the country, that interaction would have not gone well. So I asked the members that they should support this amendment, Mr. Speaker, because if you can go to war and fight for your country at the age of 20 and come home, it's kind of insane to say that the state of Alaska is going to punish you for using tobacco or vaping. Mr. Speaker, the underlying aspects of this bill is good. It puts us in line with the T21 federal rules, which means you can't sell tobacco to an individual or a vape product to an individual under the age of 21. But I would just ask the members to support the amendment because the fundamental difference is the bill still bans the sale of tobacco or vape products to someone under the age of 21, but it doesn't say that someone who is 20 years old who already fought in a war for the country should be punished by the state of Alaska for being fined for using a product, Mr. Speaker. It's a really easy amendment to vote yes on, and I ask the members to support it.
Representative Josephson.
Could I first have a very, very brief at ease?
Yes, please.
So, you understand that at 9 o'clock at night, 9:30, I shall say, the priority is determined by the so I was about to say rules. Yeah, rules. Rules chair for what comes to the floor to be discussed so that we can pass it and be on. Right? Now, of course, she didn't know that we would be here at 9:30 at night, although you could say that Senate Bill 180 was going to take up a lot of time. But the point is, this is the priority of the legislature. Rules chair gets to decide what gets brought forward and what doesn't. Okay? We're not doing what we need to do right now on Senate Bill 180. We're passionately debating e-cigarette fines.
Softening of the penalty. So the bill says we're going to stop blaming the user big time. Stop blaming. In fact, the bill says, as written, says the user no longer has to go to court. Not only do they not have to go to court, we're not even going to have a court system for them. We don't even want to see them. They will be fined up to, listen to that, up to $100. It is this minute $500, hence the 80% reduction. Okay, that's number one. Number two, although not offered, the military, and I'll get back to this, but it's relevant, The military says that it wants its 19 and 20-year-olds, it not only wants, it requires that they not smoke, certainly on base, because of the importance of readiness. The other thing is, my understanding, so we're not creating a fine. Does it initiate a fine of up to $100 for 19 and 20-year-olds? Yeah, it does. But this is not going to be a pretextual stop. If people are worried about pretextual stops based on an excuse just to stop someone, that's a whole nother matter. Does that exist in the United States? Surely. But that's a whole nother matter that this bill really doesn't touch upon. I think if Ms. Mead of the court system were here, she would say these tickets are so seldomly given anyway that they don't matter that significantly. But and you might
they don't matter significantly. But we're going to debate it at 9:30 at night when we could be talking about reducing the cost of energy for Alaskans. We're going to debate something that is insignificant. This is why is this necessary? I'm gonna point something out, okay? This list right here represents leadership. It represents leadership. It represents the legislature, the legislative leadership identifying what is important to the legislature, to the legislators, and scheduling it for debate and work throughout the legislative session all the way till today, days before the end of the session, right? This is what leadership, what results from the leaders that we elect in the legislature, right? This is the people you send to represent, and then we represent leaders. And this is how we're going to address business on the last day, is we're going to put all this together and we're going to debate this into the night when People are not thinking straight at 9 o'clock at night. This is not the best time to be debating things, especially if they're Senate Bill 180. We couldn't get it done. Like, look at the leadership that's being applied. Look at all of the other things that you think are a priority that need to be addressed over that one thing. I'm at a loss. It is so absolutely frustrating to look at this and say, these people need to be given another shot to go down there and do this again. Like, it's absolutely frustrating. Yes, we're both right on this, right? This list does not represent good leadership, good priorities, right? It is 100% agendas. How do I keep everybody happy, right? Well, some of these bills got to come forward, even though I don't agree with them. Right? That's leadership. This is. Why is the legislature addressing some of this stuff? It is because somebody back home in their district, or some special interest, or some person or something is asking them to do something about this, right? Why are we dealing with e-cigs and fines? Because somebody thinks it's important that the legislature needs to address this, and $500 for a minor who gets caught with an e-cig is outrageous. We shouldn't have that. Minor, if they get caught, they need to be fined $100, not $500. I'm like, well, what about the minor just not having it, and then they don't ever get fined? Like, what about that? Can we not just have minors that follow the law? They get $500. Okay, the minor doesn't have $500. Who pays the fine? That's the parents. Okay, parents, well, why don't you teach your kids to follow the law? The law says don't do e-cigs. You're not old enough. Follow the law. We don't have to waste time on the legislative floor at the last hour because leadership thinks this is a priority. Because somebody in the local community said we need to address this. I mean, leadership says, look, local community, understand what you're asking me to do. I work for you, but wouldn't it be wise if you just tell your kids not to vape? They're not old enough. The law says they're not old enough. Just follow the law. Oh. Don't have the law. Parents, tell your kids not to vape. If they vape, then spank them. Like, I don't know. They're not doing what they're supposed to be. I don't know. Anyway, we're a waste of time because there's lack of leadership happening all over the place. Good leadership. Anyway, it's how I get reelected. That's exactly it. I did this, and this is how I'm going to get reelected. We will reward the incumbent because they got it done. I got this done. I wasted my time, and I wasted yours, and I wasted everybody else's on the last hour. But I got it done. Send me back. I see that landfill, somebody's reporting the landfill says they're gaveling out. I didn't even see that the Senate was in session. Maybe they were recessed. Yeah, if they've gavelled out, I'm checking the website right now. Because if they gavelled out, then there will be a special session and the defined benefits bill will be vetoed here shortly. I guess I can share this and show you what I'm doing. So the website here should show floor calendar. So as of right now, they are recessed to a call of the chair. So if they are gaveling out, the website has not been updated yet. And when I jump over to gavel, there is no, let me hit refresh. There is no live Senate session. So there's an upcoming stream. I'll show you what I'm looking at here. So there's an upcoming stream here for Senate floor session. Just thinking out loud here. Maybe they're, I don't know. If Jeff's in Juneau, so if he is aware of what's happening right now, the House floor session is the only thing that's live. They do have upcoming web stream of the Senate part 2 of the floor session. So maybe it has already ended and we just didn't see it here. I didn't see it here. That is a possibility. Anyway, if the Senate is gavelled out, then you're not going to, it doesn't matter what the House does with Senate Bill 180 tonight. It will not matter because the Senate will not be able to act on it. It will not get to the governor by midnight, and he will be forced to, well, he won't be forced. He will not be able to get a bill on his desk, and he will have to make a decision as to whether he allows the defined benefits to go forward or whether he vetoes it. My guess is he vetoes it, but and then we go to a special session and we have a second bite of the apple, which is kind of what I've been saying all along. Okay, well, folks, I think I'm going to call it a night. I suspect my best guess is that this is the best that we're going to do tonight, and we're not going to see Senate Bill 180 pass in time for the governor to take action. So we'll catch everybody up tomorrow and see what happens. Question: who gets to call the special session first, the governor or the legislature? Well, technically the governor can call a special session, or the legislature can call a special session right now. Even though there's a regular session happening, you can have a special session in addition to the regular session. The legislature would have to go through its processes to call itself back into session, and they're focused on all of these bills. So they're not likely to call themselves into a special session right now because they're busy doing other things. The governor can just issue a proclamation and call a special session. So it's more likely, in my estimation, just logically thinking through this, that the governor issues the call. And from the governor's perspective, it would be better that he does. So preempt the legislature. If the legislature calls itself back into special session to address the defined benefits and gas line, then they can throw a bunch of other things in there, and it's just going to confuse everybody and make it harder to get things done. So the governor should apply leadership and call it special session and limit it to 2 things. If that's what we're going to do, then so I think that the governor gets to call it first because he's it's easier for him to call it than it is for the legislature to figure out and call it. Both houses have to weigh in, and yeah. So I think the governor does it first. Where are we in the list of bills? That's a good question. I did not, I have not been watching since 9 a.m. So I don't know how many of these bills, this list, were actually taken up earlier. I came on board when they were talking about Senate Bill 180. They may have been talking about Senate Bill 180 all day. I don't know. But they are currently on Senate Bill 24. They are at ease on Senate Bill 24, the nicotine e-cig, and they started at Senate Bill 9, which is the top of the list. So unless the speaker rolled some of the bills to the bottom of the calendar, they took up Senate Bill 180, maybe out of order. I don't know. It is impossible for me to tell from this list here on Gavel what they have actually taken up. Let me go to the website and see. Oh, yeah, perfect. Okay, I can show you. I can answer your question here. Not something that I normally did. Here we go. Deshana says, where are we at in the list of the bills? Okay, so on the House, on the floor calendar, on the website floor calendar, it shows that we're still in session here, right? At ease, reconvene at 1:16 p.m. Monday, May 18th, which is earlier today. So that has not been updated. Okay. Senate Bill 9 passed. Senate Bill 21, work and save, passed. It's highlighted as red, so that's what they're on currently. That's on the calendar. Calendar. Well. So we were right. I was right in my assumption. Senate Bill 180 is in second, and it was rolled to the bottom of the calendar so they could get. So this is the first thing they did today, because after they rolled that, we went to Senate Bill 9 and it passed. Okay, so out of everything that was calendared today, nothing passed except for what we just saw happen. So I am very confident to say that they took up Senate Bill 180 first, and it took them a long time. And then when they rolled it to the bottom of the calendar and kept it in second, they took up Senate Bill 9. So 2 have passed out of everything that they had to do today, and all of this is still on the calendar to get done tonight. Plus, they have to come back and finish Senate Bill 180. It's going to be a long night. Yeah, they put 180 at the end. We've got, we've done 2 of the, how many was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We've finished 2 of the 14. We're on number 3 of 14. And number 4 of 14 is 180 that we have partially done. So you've still got 12 to go before you can get back to 180. Or you could take up 180 at any time, really. But you've got 12 more that's on your calendar to take care of. So they could gavel out and come back, or they could recess and come back tomorrow to take up the rest of this, or they could just keep going. There's many different options, but that's where they're at. Well, a call on the House only forces people to come in. It doesn't mean that they get to that it happens any faster, that they take up anything any faster. It just, if you go back and look at who's sitting in the seats and who's absent, a call can satisfy that to pull people back, but doesn't mean that you get anything done any quicker. Can he place the special session before they gavel out? Yeah, absolutely he can. He can call a special session for July. He could call it for June. He could call it for immediately following the legislature, the last day of the legislature. Most certainly. I think at this point, he's probably going to call a special session after people have had a chance to go home and rest for a little bit, and then come back refreshed to the conversation, as opposed to keeping people there right now, because everybody just wants to get done and go home. That's what they want. They do not want to stick around for another conversation. Maybe that would be the best thing to do. It provides motivation for people to get done with it so they can go home. In my experience, that's not what happens. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's manipulation. That's what's happening now. Let's just get it done and get out of here. You may have reservations. There may be something that you would be inclined to amend, but because it's 10 o'clock at night, you're not going to bring the amendment forward. You're like, I don't care that much. Like, this is going to take another hour if I bring an amendment forward. No way. I'm not doing that. And that's the reason. I've had another speaker say, if you want to speed things up and make sure things you just make it as painful as possible for everybody. You just come back late at night and people are less likely to have any conversations, and you can just get things passed. Okay, well, you better hope that the committee got things worked out. It's not good governance, but it gets things done. They want to quit and go home. I am a super voter. Why? Why do they want to quit and go home? No, they want to get done with their business and go home. I don't think quit and go home is the right word. Maybe I said that and I misspoke if I did. I'm saying they want to get done and they want to go home as quickly as possible, because they're just as frustrated having to sit here and do this at 9 o'clock at night. They want to be done. It's been a long session. It is. I mean, you can look at it from the outside and say, well, they're not getting anything done, but they're still awake. They're still in the building. They're still having to deal with all of the drama and all of the immaturity and all of the process that goes with the legislature. I can guarantee you everybody down there is tired and ready to be done. It's 6 years, six end of sessions. Every single time you're done and you're emotionally and mentally exhausted. You're ready to be done. That's why they want to go home. They want to be done. This again, maybe I did not make myself clear. The whole point that I was trying to make with regard to leadership and this list of things that is trying to get done tonight, right? The hardest person to lead is yourself. And you've got 40 people there who are leading themselves and trying to lead others. And you've got people who get elected to positions who are in positions of authority that they're supposed to lead. And all of this leading that's going on generates that list of things that is unwieldy. It is, I don't know, irresponsibly long to be trying to get something done at 9 o'clock at night and call it good governance, right? And it's a whole bunch of leadership, but it's a whole bunch of failed leadership. It's not good leadership. Good leadership simplifies things. It prioritizes things. It is disciplined. Many of these bills could have been addressed a month ago, but we don't. We force the conversation to happen at the very end through poor leadership, not prioritizing things and not getting things done, right? And so this is what I'm trying to articulate. It's a leadership problem. You ask the legislature to get a whole bunch of insignificant things done, and they've got one major big thing they have to do, or two major big things, like get a budget passed and get a pipeline bill done. Leadership's supposed to simplify things for everybody. This is complicating things. It's the nature. Anyway. It's just a very poor leadership environment, and it takes organization, discipline, and prioritization to turn this into a better product. You don't have that. You don't have any of that happening from within a political party, not the Republican Party. You don't have any of that. Prioritization, simplification, discipline, none of that is being exerted from a political party. You got people down there that are on their own. Don't blame the party. Parties, like, it's not responsible for what you're seeing. It's responsible for sending the people down there, maybe, like for helping get them elected, endorsing them in some cases. It's not responsible, like it's not providing the leadership. So yeah, Al, you're speaking like with some authority here. It's been the same. That's exactly the way it is. It's like we're on Groundhog's Day. It's always going to be that way unless you send better people down there who want to prioritize things differently. If your electorate stops asking for stupid things to get done. So maybe I'm just being naive. Maybe wishing that it was different is the naive part. You all need to understand. You want to provide oversight? You need to know what this is like. You need to know that every ask that you and everybody else out here asks the legislature to do leads them to this conclusion, to really poor governance, because you're asking so much of the legislature that's incapable of walking and chewing gum. Maybe it could walk and chew gum if walking and chew gum was the only thing it was asked to do. But it's not asked to just walk and chew gum. It has all of the other things that it's being asked to do. Juggle and ride a bike and all. I mean, I'm just using examples here, right? There's so many other things that it's asked to do, not just not just pass a budget and deal with property tax issues on pipelines. It's not just asked to do that. It's asked to do all of this other list of things. That's because you, who sent them down there to represent you, followed them up with an inexhaustible supply of demand asks of things to do. Like, it starts with us, and it starts with you understanding what you're asking your legislature to do and the results, the implications of that. Can we do without the argument on tobacco and e-cigs? Can we do without that argument this year, next year? Can we take it up a couple of years from now? Would it be okay that we deal with the bigger things without dealing with that? Civics education, you're expecting the legislature to be able to do it, but I'm telling you, they're not able to. I hope that through this effort, that we're able to have a conversation, and others will be able to watch the recording and get a better understanding of what it's actually like in the legislature and why poor governance happens. Much of it is to blame for them, but some of it is to blame for us for asking them to do so much that they're just incapable to do. You didn't send the right people down there to be able to prioritize and get this stuff done well. You don't have those people down there. It's a dysfunctional system for real, and it doesn't have to be, but it is what it is. And to date, it's the best system we've got as human beings. All right. Stop asking me questions. I want to end. We're almost 3 hours. Oh my gosh. All right. We're going to follow up tomorrow. and we'll figure out what happened with this session. And likely, as soon as I end this, we'll hear something from the governor. Let me check real quick on social media and see if there's any notifications that the governor has vetoed. Okay, so I got message from staff in Juneau that the Senate is gaveling out at 10 p.m. That's 5 minutes from now. And they have actually sent all the senators home. So they're just going to come in and gavel out. It'll be Senate president and key staff, majority leader, and that's it. So nothing else is going to happen in that regard. Which means as soon as they gavel out, then you'll have a veto. Dean, can we not have to deal with new regulations for sewer tanks? How about no new regs or spending till the budget is balanced? Yeah, I mean, there are approaches that you could take as leaders of the legislature. You know, you're the speaker, the Senate president, the positions that you've been elected to. You could say, hey, look, we need to get done with our work. We're going to exert leadership over this group. You elected us to get things done. We need to get things done better than we've ever got them done before. We're going to do that by not doing these other things yet. We're going to focus on these things and only these things. We're going to spend 2 weeks doing it, and we're going to get our work done in the 2 weeks and be done. Like this disciplined approach, right? We don't have that. Yes, it's possible, but not likely. So 3 minutes, their gavel out. Oh, I don't know. We'll probably hear about a veto of the bill here within 5-10 minutes, I would guess. That's probably what we're going to hear. I'm pretty confident of that. Well, I'm gonna sign off here, and we'll wait for the governor. We can talk about it tomorrow. Pretty sure that that's what's going to happen. So join me tomorrow. We'll have a conversation about it, and we'll find out what these poor souls had to deal with tonight, whether they got through all these bills or whether they came back tomorrow. So you guys, thanks for hanging out, and go to OversightLIVE.com and support the show. If you wherever your social media, whichever social media you're up, let's see, we've got people on all three of the different apps. Like and share, subscribe. That way we can show this to other people. All right. Spread the word. We'll see you tomorrow.